Hey everybody, Super Vader for 100 here, back for another video, and this time, this is my review of Mortal Kombat 8, or Mortal Kombat vs. DC, and Mortal Kombat 9, or Mortal Kombat 2011, whichever your preference. Um, there will be no video game footage in this video. This is just me reviewing and talking about both of these video games. I got the idea to do this from a guy. He now calls himself Console Guts, but he used to call himself Arcade Guts, Mike's V Arcades. He used to do various and this guy used to do various reviews of arcade games. That was his signature. You had the angry video game nerd, you had the irate gamer, but Mike's video arcade, or Console Guts as he calls them now, was dedicated to reviewing nothing but arcade games, and he was a huge fan of Mortal Kombat. He's a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, and he also, along with the arcade reviews, he also did videos like I'm doing right now with him just talking about gameplay, with him just talking about the video games, but not showing any gameplay footage. I'm gonna do a video featuring gameplay footage, but I'm not sure if I'll ever upload it to YouTube. Um, but let's get back to Mortal Kombat versus but let's get back to this review right here. I'm gonna start off with Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. Of course, I first heard about this game I first heard about this game 7 years ago, back in 2008. I was waiting for the sequel to what would be Mortal Kombat Armageddon, Mortal Kombat 7, which is Armageddon, but instead, Midway, which is now NetherRealm Studios, they came up with the idea of Mortal Kombat characters crossing over with the DC universe. This video game and another video game, TNA Impact, these were the last two video games Midway produced in a desperate attempt to get some cash, because they were about to file for bankruptcy, and of course they were filed for bankruptcy, and Warner Brothers acquired them, and I think they merged with Warner Brothers, and they became which is now NetherRealm Studios. Don't remember the history there, but I remember this video game and TNA Impact being the last two video games under the Midway banner. But anyway, I first heard about this game, and as soon as I saw the trailer, I was hyped for this game. I watched various reviews. I saw various reviews and various gameplay footage, and this video game right here made me want a 7th generation console. I didn't care about the I didn't care that much about the 7th generation console when it came up. I was still with the PS2 and was about to upgrade to a GameCube and an Xbox, the original Xbox. But this video game right here made me want a 7th generation console. And in my opinion, right here, not only is this one of the best Mortal Kombat games, in my opinion, this is one of the best fighting games and the best video games of the entire 7th generation. Right here, Mortal Kombat versus DC. I play this game all the time, despite of beating it I don't know how many times, both the MK and the DC universe. And as always, like I said, I usually get consoles when their prices go down. When the price for the Xbox 360 went down, Xbox 360, now I finally got it. This video game is actually so awesome. Before I get to all the content, this video game is so awesome, I'm actually mad that I didn't purchase this when it was new, because if you purchased this when it was new and you got the collector's item, you got the collector's edition, I think, you got a free comic book. This came with a comic book. This came with a comic book. So this is the only video game I regret not buying when it was new. Not buying it new. This is the only regret I have of not getting an Xbox 360 when it was new. But like I said, but one of the really things I loved about this video game was that unlike other crossover video games such as Marvel vs. Capcom and Capcom vs. SNK or Capcom Fighting Evolution, those games were awesome, but those games, they have some tiny bit of story, but it's mostly just the characters from different video games and different franchises coming together for one big smash 'em up, beat 'em up brawl. Whereas this video game had a cool in-depth story on why these characters, Batman, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Quan Chi, Shang Tsung, Sonya Blade, Jax, Baraka, Kano, Raiden, and Green Lantern, Shazam, Darkseid, and Shao Kahn. I think that's all of them. I could be missing a couple. They actually had a reason why these characters were interacting and fighting each other and fighting each other, and I just thought that was cool, and I just thought that was cool. And I like how this video game also is, and this is actually something Mortal Kombat has always done. But one thing I love about this video game, unlike other 7th generation games or other fighting games in general, is that other fighting games, Mortal Kombat broke tradition with this. Mortal Kombat innovated this, but other fighting games have this thing that if it's not broke, don't fix it. They don't really make that much improvements to video game, just adding a couple of things. Whereas Mortal Kombat, ever since the first game and all the way up until 2011, Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat always said, this is good, but for each next game, how can we be better? How can we be bigger? And Mortal Kombat vs. DC did the same thing. Of course, Mortal Kombat vs. DC in the last gen, the 6th generation Mortal Kombat games, Deadly Alliance, Deception, Armageddon, they of course they had the ability to change styles, to change fighting styles in a fight. For the first 2 games, Deadly Alliance and Deception, you got 2 hand-to-hand combat styles and a weapon for your 3rd style. In this video, and of course in Armageddon, since Armageddon had one of the largest rosters of any fighting game, everyone has a hand-to-hand combat style and a weapon style. In this video game, they got rid of they kept the 3D movement, which I loved. And I was mad they got rid of it in Mortal Kombat 9. They kept the 3D movement. The free roaming 3D arena style combat. But instead of the styles, they added a close up attack which resembles MMA and boxing, and another cool technique which in the city where you can take the guy and run him through the wall, and another cool technique where when you knock the guy onto a new plane, you and the computer start fighting in the air like a comic book, and the goal is to deal as much damage as possible while you're in the air. Same as when you're running the guy through the wall, or when you're doing the close-up combat. Then the last cool thing this does is that one of the big things about this story mode is that since in this story mode there's this thing called rage, where when you press I think it's the R1 and L1 buttons, when you press, you get this gold energy. You get surrounded by this gold energy where you become invincible to attacks until the yellow bar is empty. Till the yellow bar is empty. So like I said, I loved them. And another thing I loved was that in story mode, the fighters, the characters, the characters, every character in this game is unique. That's one thing I like and hate about this video game. The Mortal Kombat characters are better fighters. If you want to fight, you want to pick the Mortal Kombat characters, the Mortal Kombat characters. However, the DC characters, excluding Batman and Deathstroke and Darkseid when you unlock him, Deathstroke and Darkseid when you unlock him, the DC characters are poor fighters, but they are extremely powerful. That's everyone with the exception of Batman and Deathstroke, who are like the fighters of that group. And the worst fighters of that group were Joker and Catwoman. I hated playing as them. They're like the weakest. They're like the weakest characters in the game. And Luthor too. His suit is powerful, but he himself is like weak, man. He himself is weak. He has no combat ability. It's all in his suit. He's all the suit, and the game plays like that. If you find yourself playing as Luthor, Joker, or Catwoman, you're gonna have a hard time beating the Mortal Kombat characters. You're gonna have to like spam the same move over and over again. Same move over and over again. Over and over again. And but that's the gameplay features. I enjoy both story modes. I enjoy playing the Mortal Kombat one more. I enjoy playing the Mortal Kombat one more because, like I said, the Mortal Kombat characters are better fighters, and this is a fighting game. This is a fighting game. This is a fighting game. Characters like Superman and Shazam are like awesome, are extremely powerful, but their combat ability is nothing compared to the Mortal Kombat. Their hand-to-hand combat ability is nothing compared to the Mortal Kombat characters, but they're extremely powerful. And none of the Mortal Kombat characters, excluding Raiden or freaking Liu Kang, are on the same are as powerful as them they were. When I was Jax, I actually got my butt kicked a couple of times when I fought Wonder Woman. It was even worse when I had to fight her as Scorpion and when I had to fight her as Scorpion. Um like I said, awesome game. Both story modes start off differently, but they both end the same. It just depends on who you play as. They both end the same, but they both end in a battle with Dark Khan, who is the fusion of Shao Kahn and Darkseid, and is the final boss of the game, along with story mode. The only thing I don't like about this game, I'm gonna get that out the way right now. The only thing I don't like about this game is besides having to play as Joker, Catwoman, and Lex Luthor. The only thing I don't like about this game is that, well, since this was one of the very first video games on the 7th generation console, one of the very first Mortal Kombat games on the 7th generation console, there really isn't much unlockable content with the exception of Darkseid and Shao Kahn, who you get when you beat both story modes. There really isn't much unlockable content, and Quan Chi, who is in the story mode, sadly to say, because of budget constraints and time constraints, he couldn't be added to the final roster. And apart from one player ladder mode, the traditional one player ladder mode with the character ending at the end, a cool character ending at the end, there really isn't much to do in this video game. Luckily for me, the video game is so awesome that I don't need anything else in the video game, but it would have been cool to have other video game modes. Mortal Kombat 4 from years ago had more modes than this. Had more modes than this. It's just a single player ladder, two player, a practice mode, a combo challenge mode, which I don't care for, and a versus mode. That's all this video game has. That's the only thing I don't like about this video game. And the story mode for this video game was awesome. I thought the story mode for this video game was awesome for being a non-canon Mortal Kombat story. This whole story is pretty much an Elseworld, according to Wikipedia, an Elseworld DC um DC story. That's what this story is. It's not canon to the Mortal Kombat franchise. But despite that, was this story mode, this big what if was awesome, and I thought it was way better than the Mortal Kombat 2011, which I'm about to talk about in a minute right now. But the story mode was it's kind of hard to follow, but it's not hard to follow, it's hard to explain. The story mode is um after Raiden and Superman defeat both of their respective enemies, Shao Kahn and Darkseid respectively, they both blast both of them through a portal. Superman laser beams Darkseid through a portal as he's about to leave, and Raiden blasts Shao Kahn through a portal as Shao Kahn attacks Quan Chi for abandoning him, and instead of killing both of these guys, it instead fuses them together and brings both realms together and creates a new being called Dark Khan. And because of the merger of realms, it causes the characters to become enraged and angry and fight each other. And according to the round mergers, some characters have gained strength, such as Joker. Joker now has the combat ability to beat characters like Batman, Deathstroke, and Kano, and has made some characters like Superman weaker, who can now be affected by magic. And Scorpion's get over here, get over here, get over here, get over here, and of course, the Mortal Kombat versus pretty much the whole story is the Mortal Kombat versus DC characters accusing both realms of actually invading each other, both realms of invading each other, but both realms of invading each other, but Raiden and Superman eventually learn that neither one are invading this. That Dark Khan is responsible for this, and that neither one are with Dark Khan, and decide to team up and fight, Dark Khan. Like I said, the story is not hard to follow. It's hard to explain. And it was cool seeing several cool matchups, like several cool matchups and scenarios. Several cool matchups and scenarios like Sub-Zero versus Deathstroke, Sub-Zero versus Deathstroke, Sub-Zero versus Deathstroke, Jax versus Shazam, Scorpion versus Superman, Raiden versus Superman, Batman versus Liu Kang, Batman versus Liu Kang and Raiden, um Raiden, Wonder Woman versus Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So several cool matchups, and from the traditional Mortal Kombat, from the traditional DC universe, Flash versus Batman, an angrier Flash, an angrier, ruthless Flash, more angrier and aggressive Flash versus Batman and and Kano, and of course who else in this game? Oh yes, going back to the Mortal Kombat world, Sub-Zero versus Raiden, Sub-Zero versus Raiden, um Liu Kang versus Sub-Zero, Raiden versus Shang Tsung, and several cool what if scenarios such as Shang Tsung, Kano, Quan Chi, Shang Tsung, Quan Chi fighting on the side of light, fighting on the side of good for once, fighting on the side of good for once. Same with the DC characters. We've seen Luthor team up with the DC heroes numerous times to stop a bigger threat, but it was cool seeing stuff you wouldn't see. Like I said, seeing the bad guys in this game: Shang Tsung, Baraka, Quan Chi, Quan Chi and Kano fighting on the side of light. Even though Kano did team up with the heroes in Mortal Kombat 1 to stop Goro. So that's not totally new for more for Kano at least. But it was good seeing though all those characters are named villains, old school Mortal Kombat villains fighting on the side of light. Fighting on the side of light, and the drama, the voice acting, and the story and the writing is just great. Like I said, I thought this story mode was way better than the story mode of Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X, which is Mortal Kombat 10, Mortal Kombat X. But like I said, the lack of a lot of unlockable content, and the lack of a lot of unlockable content, and the lack of really a lot of gameplay modes were only criticism towards the game, and of course my personal criticism towards my personal problem with the game is that, like I said, I didn't get it sooner to get that cool comic book that Mike Council Gut showed in his review of Mortal Kombat versus DC. But like I said, this is one of my all-time. This is not only one of my opinion, one of the best fighting games, one of the best fighting games of all time, one of the best Mortal Kombat games of all time. It's one of the best fighting games and one of the best 7th generation games, and in my opinion, one of the best video games of all time. I think the game is criminally underrated. It got positive reviews. Like I said, the lack of unlockable content and the toned down finishers is what drew criticism. But you have people like bashing this video game because it wasn't the gore-rated infest that Mortal Kombat is known for. Mortal Kombat, and of course the toned down finishers. I'll do a video responding to those people later, but this is all the good stuff about Mortal Kombat versus DC. This is a Mortal Kombat versus DC. This is a positive video. I'll save all the other stuff for like a rant, so like I said, this game right here was just an awesome video game, man. I play it all the time. It's one of my all-time favorite video games. When I sit for and oh yeah, before I stop it, like I said, this whole video game feels like one thing I love about modern video games is that video game graphics are so high tech now that video games are almost like, this whole video game was like one giant comic book, movie, and a cartoon. Whereas the old Mortal Kombat games use storyboards and short cutscenes. This had long cutscenes mixed with gameplay, which made it feel like you were watching a movie or reading a comic book with all these chapters. So like I said, awesome video game. What I said for Mortal Kombat versus DC right now. Let's get on to Mortal Kombat 2011. This like I said in my Mortal Kombat versus DC review, when I saw the trailers for this video game, this is another video game that made me wish I had a 7th generation console. The trailer for this video game, up until the trailer for Mortal Kombat X, this trailer had to be one of the best trailers I've ever seen for a video game. The trailer was freaking awesome, man. I was pumped and excited for this game, and I was mad that I didn't have a 7th generation console when this video game released, man, because I badly wanted this game when I saw the trailer. My excitement turned to disappointment when I saw the gameplay and when I saw the story mode. I didn't like the changes this video game made to the gameplay. The first problem I had was that first off, they promised NetherRealm Studios promised a brand new gameplay for experienced Mortal Kombat characters. There was nothing brand new about this video game. They just took Mortal Kombat versus DC, a 3D roaming arena fighting game, and made this a 2D fighting game, a 3D game, but with 2D fighting gameplay, like the Mortal Kombat games of old, like the Mortal Kombat games of old. That was a huge disappointment, and I was always I was always mad. I was always pissed about that. Still am kind of pissed about. Still am kind of pissed about that. I didn't I didn't like that. And pretty much the game was pretty much just a remake of Mortal Kombat. Was just a modern remake of Mortal Kombat 3 and 4. Mortal Kombat 3 and 4 gameplay wise. Story wise, of course, it's a remake of one Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. But gameplay wise, it's just 3 and 4. It has the 2D gameplay. It has the 2D gameplay of it has the 3D graphics Mortal Kombat 4 has, but it has the 2D gameplay of a Mortal Kombat 3 with some of the realism of Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat 4. That's what pretty much Mortal Kombat 2011 was. But of course, I still wanted the game because first off, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I love what they did with the graphics and the redesigns of several characters, and I love the brand new story mode, the brand new story mode, But I was hugely disappointed with this game. I was hugely disappointed with this game, and that's actually my problem with the game. My problem with the game is actually this game is one of the rare games. This game, along with Street Fighter 4, the King of Fighters, the King of Fighters series, the King of Fighters series, and most of the Dragon Ball Z games. These are the only fighting games that I enjoy that I enjoy more for their story, their gimmicks and innovations more so than their actual gameplay. These are games where they have gameplay I don't like, but they have story, characters, several cool gimmicks and innovations and graphics, and that alone wins me over and keeps me coming back for more to play these games. But gameplay wise, I didn't like this game, and while I love the story and story mode, I love how they came up with a story where, just like with Mortal Kombat vs. DC, where you got to play as every Mortal Kombat character. I did not like the plot holes in the story, and several things in the story, such as Sub Zero being the younger Sub Zero being turned into a cyborg, and I didn't like the Mortal Kombat characters. I didn't like the Mortal Kombat characters. Pretty much every Mortal Kombat character was brought back to life. Every Mortal Kombat character was died in the Battle of Armageddon. And you brought them back to life, only to kill them all off again. With the exception of Sonya, Raiden, and Johnny Cage. That right there pissed me off. That right there pissed me off, and just several plot holes in the game, such as the beginning. I don't really understand Mortal Kombat Armageddon's story very well, but first off, I was mad at how this video game right here. I was mad at how they rebooted this. I knew they would have to reboot Mortal Kombat someday, but I didn't want that. I didn't want a reboot now. I wanted a true sequel to Armageddon. But most fans like the original Mortal Kombat games better. So we ended up with this Mortal Kombat, this remake of Mortal Kombat game. Like I said, I didn't like the beginning. Let's go back to when you click on story mode, it starts off with Shao Kahn and Raiden fighting on top of the pyramid. The problem I have with this is, first off, if you played Armageddon or you watch the intro, Unaga comes and takes Shao Kahn away. And Raiden gets taken out by Shinnok in the Battle of Armageddon. And I was mad that this game had nothing to do with Taven and Dagon, the main protagonists and antagonists of Armageddon, of Armageddon. It said Shao Kahn defeated Blaze. Shao Kahn defeated the god Blaze and absorbed his powers when he got taken away by Unaga. And it said, and some people say he defeated Unaga. How could Shao Kahn they don't show you how Shao Kahn defeated Unaga. Who, if you played Mortal Kombat vs. Deception, you saw how unbeatable Unaga was. It took some special artifacts that Shinjiko had to defeat Unaga, according to the storyline of Deception, to defeat Unaga. It took some it took some special artifacts to defeat him, to defeat Unaga, to defeat Unaga. It took some. So how did Shao Kahn defeat him without those and get back there? And how was Raiden and only Raiden and what's his name when you saw Raiden get taken out by Shinnok's hands in Armageddon. So then Raiden, this before Shao Kahn deals the finishing blow with his hammer, Raiden's oh, this part is hard to follow. Raiden's future self, Raiden's future self sends a vision back to his past self. So now past self telling him he must win, and Raiden and the video game flashes back to the first Mortal Kombat video game, the first Mortal Kombat tournament, first Mortal Kombat tournament, first Mortal Kombat tournament, and throughout the video game, Raiden is trying to prevent these visions from taking place to trying to stop Armageddon, and that's pretty much the story of that's pretty much the story of the story of this video game. So like I said, I like the story mode. One thing I love that see in the first three Mortal Kombat games, while like those, while I think those while I thought the first three or first four Mortal Kombat games were much better than this video game. One thing I like better about this Mortal Kombat game is that this Mortal Kombat game, they were able to combine they were able to combine gameplay with story. That's one thing I love about video games. Now the old Mortal Kombat games, they have storylines, but it's all the way up until Mortal Kombat Deception. All the way up until Mortal Kombat Deception, it's kind of hard to tell what the storylines are because it's kind of hard because it focuses more on gameplay and is played from a first, or I should say a first or third person perspective. You're pretty much playing the tournament, playing the story by choosing your favorite character and beating whoever the boss character is, and you get a character ending. But since it's unknown who fought who in the old Mortal Kombat games, who fought who, that makes the storyline confusing. That makes the storyline confusing and hard to follow. This video game, games like Mortal Kombat Deception, Armageddon, DC, and this game right here added conquest modes and actual story modes to let you know what the story is, but they still have the traditional single player ladders with a lot of cool character endings, which I thought was also cool. Also cool. While I don't like the gameplay of Mortal Kombat versus 2011, I do like how they added more moves. They first off they have more combos. They have more combos. Most of the finishing moves from the 6th generation Mortal Kombat games and the original Mortal Kombat games are back and updated and made to look more realistic, like Noob Saibot's teleport move, which is awesome. Even though that's actually not new. That's actually Reiko's move from Armageddon. So most of the old moves are back, but they added two brand new maneuvers, and that is they added two brand new moves. They have a new move. They have a new super combo move, which is similar to Street Fighter, where the character will do a super move, of one of their signature attacks. I've done one of these. I have not done multiple versions of these, but they have a super combo similar to Street Fighter. Then, of course, they have one thing I think is really cool. They have this cool X-ray move where the characters deal several fatal blows, where you can see the guy's bones break. They will punch him, and you can punch him or slam him, and you can see the guy's spine and bones just break. And this video game is violent, man. Video game is so violent, it was for a time banned in Australia. You talk about when you play this video game, all the blood and gore in this video game, whereas the last Mortal Kombat game was like a comic book, a movie and a comic book. The last Mortal Kombat game, this game right here is a violent movie and a graphic novel, a graphic a graphic a graphic novel. That's what this Mortal Kombat game right here. That's what this Mortal Kombat game Mortal Kombat game right here is. Love the roster, and I love the improvements they did make over Mortal Kombat vs. DC. While I think this game was better, I love the improvements this game made over Mortal Kombat vs. DC, such as a bigger roster, a bigger roster. Quan Chi is playable. Quan Chi is playable this time around. Quan Chi is playable this time around, and other characters like um Cabal and Striker are back, who I desperately wanted in DC. Um, um, the roster is larger, and I love new story mode segments such as Smoke. Smoke is on the side of good, even though Smoke human form of Smoke, he doesn't become a cyborg, but Sub Zero does, which I hated. I hated Cyber Sub Zero. Actually, Sub Zero, I don't Sub Zero. I'm a huge Sub Zero fan, but I thought he was terrible in this video game. His combos and stuff were weak, and the cyborg Sub Zero was just terrible. I didn't like the design. I didn't like the design, and I didn't like the plot. I love the human form of Smoke. I love the human form of Smoke. Smoke was just badass in this video games. He was one of the best things about this video games. That's one thing I like better about this timeline, better about this time than the other timeline. But I thought the previous Mortal Kombat timeline was better. Through Mortal Kombat 1 through 8, in my opinion, were all better than this video game. And Mortal Kombat X, I'm not gonna say it's the worst Mortal Kombat in this game in the series, because the game is actually pretty fun. But Mortal Kombat X, in my opinion, is the weakest Mortal Kombat game. Is the weakest Mortal Kombat game in the series. But I'll talk more about that in a rant on Mortal Kombat X. But right now, this is all the positive stuff about Mortal Kombat versus Mortal Kombat 2011. So like I said, the story mode was awesome. I love how the story mode allows you to play as Johnny Cage, Sonya, Scorpion, Cyrax, Cyrax, Liu Kang, Jax, Sub-Zero, Smoke, Sub-Zero, Kitana, Jade, then Kung Lao, then back to Liu Kang again, then Striker, then Cabal, then Nightwolf, then finally the game finishes with Raiden. The game finally finishes with Raiden. The worst part of story modes for me were, of course, like I said, Sub-Zero's part. Even though I did love his fight with Ermac and Scorpion, and his fight with Noob Saibot. But Sub-Zero's, Kitana's and Jade's story mode parts were the worst. The actual story of these characters was good, but I'm talking about the gameplay for these characters was absolutely terrible. These were the worst parts of story modes. I also loved and hated. I hated the first time around because I wanted to unlock everything and quickly get back to the next part of the story. But now I like it. So I like and hate this. I hate and like this. I hate it and like this, and that's the endurance matches. And it's not like Tekken where you beat one character and you beat the whole team. No, you have to beat every character. It's a full-on survival endurance match, classic endurance match mode, handicap match mode in Mortal Kombat 2000 in Mortal Kombat 2011, Mortal Kombat 2011, and Mortal Kombat 2011. So like I said, that's all the good stuff. Also, graphics are much better here. That's another improvement. While both of these games, in my opinion, had good graphics, Both of these games had good graphics. It was Mortal Kombat 2011 that perfected them. Perfected them. See, Mortal Kombat versus 2008. That was like the seventh generation. That was like the first video game for the seventh generation. So you can tell they had that Mortal Kombat versus DC at several points when you look at the characters' faces that they haven't truly mastered seventh generation seventh generation technology. This video game fully mastered. Actually, this video game looks much better than Mortal Kombat X, which in my opinion looks terrible. Which in my opinion looks terrible. Um, but like I said, this video game was awesome, and it was awesome. One of the things I actually initially hated about this game, I ended up loving. It was fun reliving and seeing most of the stuff that happened during Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 again, seeing several stages like the pit, the acid pool stage, the cemetery, the final, I keep forgetting what this stage was, but the final sanctuary stage where you fight Sindel, the city stage. The city stage, even though I thought that stage looked better in the old Mortal Kombat video games, but it was cool. The first stage, the temple stage, where with the Mortal Kombat place, and of course the pit. It was cool seeing all of these old stages from the first three Mortal Kombat games all over again, and seeing how things happen, such as Scorpion killing Sub Zero, the Elder Sub Zero, and him becoming Noob Saibot, um Jax getting his how Jax got his metal hands, how Stryker and Cabal, how Stryker was recruited, how Cabal was disfigured, how Cyrax and Sector's human forms before they were automated, before both of those guys were automated, and like I said, and and who else in this video game? Who else in this video game? Um, who else in this video game video game um um Sonya so like I said, it was just cool seeing reliving Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 over again. There are some changes because this is a different timeline. There are some changes to several backstories of characters, but it was cool seeing all this stuff again. Like I said, awesome video games. The only problem I had was the gameplay. I don't like the 2D gameplay. In my opinion, that's not realistic. In a fight, you circle. That's why I prefer. Story wise, I've always preferred games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, the SNK games, Eternal Champions, pretty much all the cool 2D games. Story wise, I've always preferred these games, but when it came to gameplay, I've always preferred games like Tekken, the MMA, the UFC MMA games, the boxing games, and the professional wrestling games, because they were full on 3D fighting arena style games, combat 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 games. So like I said, the only thing I didn't like about this game was the story, was the plot holes in the story, and of course the gameplay. But the story mode, and all the gimmicks and innovations and stuff this game did keeps me coming back for more. I play this game all the time, and I've nearly pretty much beat it and unlocked almost unlocked. Well, actually, I haven't unlocked most stuff. I've only beat the game with several characters and unlocked their alternate costumes or looks, and I love the alternate costumes of several characters. Other things I didn't like about this game, I didn't like the designs. I didn't like the designs of Sector, Cyrax, and Cyber Sub-Zero's robot forms. I wish they would use the designs from Mortal Kombat 3. I didn't like their updated designs in the 6th generation Mortal Kombat era games either. I wish they would have kept the Mortal Kombat 3 games with the red, yellow, and blue upper torso with the with the legs and feet being black with red yellow with your red yellow stripes and stuff like that. With stuff like that, I didn't like their designs, especially Cyrax, which this looked like DC Comics and GI Joe. They look like Mortal Kombat. They didn't look like Lin Kuei fighters. Lin Kuei fighters. They look like crappy wannabe predators, GI Joe and DC. That's what they look like. I didn't like their new design. I also did not like I also did not like how, I don't know if it is, but I hate how the Elder Sub-Zero Behan, his first appearance when he fights Scorpion in the tournament, which is awesome, is not playable. They only have both of his new Cybot costumes. His first costume for Mortal Kombat 2, then his updated Mortal Kombat 3 type costume for Noob Saibot. Noob Saibot. I also hate. This is probably not in here because, of course, this is before Sub-Zero left the Lin Kuei, and he got automated in this game. They don't have Sub-Zero's badass form, unmasked form. So and Raiden for his pilot swap costume, he has a black. I think he has either a black costume or his dark Raiden costume. I was disappointed that he didn't have his Mortal Kombat versus DC costume with the badass cape. Um, um. Oh yeah, another Quan Chi, his alternate design. Quan Chi's alternate design. I was disappointed that he didn't have his Mortal Kombat 4 design with the spikes, with the green shirt and the spikes, His original design before they gave him the new um bare torso, muscular design he has now. He has some brown apron, brown shirt on. I thought that was lame. They should have gave him his original costume. I'm also disappointed that in the Mortal Kombat 1 part of the story, they didn't have Jack. They didn't have Johnny Cage's Bloodsport costume with the trunks and the shoes, which I thought was awesome in Mortal Kombat 1. They had his Mortal Kombat 2 trilogy and 4 costume. Jax. I didn't like the facial features on Jax. They look nothing like his previous his actor in the first Mortal Kombat games, John Parrish. It didn't look like him. I didn't like his facial features. I thought they were much better in Mortal Kombat vs. DC. And I did not like his I don't know. I also didn't like the fact he didn't have his the black pants with the red or purple or green stripes. I didn't like how he didn't have that look in the game. So so I also didn't like Reptile's look either. I liked his original Shinobi look. I'm also disappointed that Rain wasn't at any point present in this game, and he's present in the next game but isn't playable. So like I said, these are the only criticisms I have for this game, but this video game right here was awesome. The only problem I had, like I said, this game was with the plot holes in the story mode, which I'll talk more about in a rant on this video game. But this right here was a review of both of these games. Both of these games right here were awesome, man. I played both of these games all the time, despite of beating them and completing them. I have other video games like Prototype, Castlevania, and Fist of the North Star, which I play all the time, which I haven't completed, but I play these more because both of these games are just awesome. Well, like I said, this was my review of Mortal Kombat versus DC. This was my review of Mortal Kombat versus DC and Mortal Kombat 2011. All right, dug out.